Dean Legge, Dylan Webber here, another edition of Riding Home. Dylan, let's just get right into what happened at practice today with the dogs. What'd you see?
Um, well, I feel a lot of sweat right now. The thermometer on my car says 100. Brutal, and I'm in jeans.
Yeah, it's hot.
But
No question.
I mean, the quick note is DJ Daniel was there today. He didn't play on Saturday. Kirby said today it was a slight hamstring issue, but it doesn't seem like it's going to be that big of an issue for him. Probably just a good break for him. An interesting thing I saw today was Kearis Jackson was out there and participating in practice, and he had a club on his hand, and so he got one over the shoulder pass to him, and he just tried and catch it one-handed. It's pretty difficult to play receiver with one hand.
Yeah.
But he's going to go for it. Seems like.
You think he'll try to play this week?
I doubt it. I don't see. I doubt it. I think they probably just want him in there just to still keep moving. Maybe work on some scheme things. But yeah, there's no way they would play him with that.
By the way, I've discussing with people on dogpost.com, dawgpost.com about explosion, and in talking about plays that were 25 yards or more. One of the guys that actually stands out, there's only been about 10, I think, 10 to 12 on offense this year so far. So not a bunch.
I mean, that's in 2 games, though.
I know. But there's been 3 special teams that way, and 2 of them from Tyler Simmons. And when you think about Tyler Simmons, he's not necessarily a guy you think immediately. You're like, this guy could take it to the house. Particularly, part of what's going on here, too, is they're replacing 2 guys I'm thinking of immediately. One in particular, Mecole Hardman and Ridley. But, I mean, Mecole could take it to the house at any moment. And, you also don't have Elijah back there at kickoff return.
Yeah, I mean, Tyler Simmons, I think, has been a phenomenal punt returner, honestly. I mean,
really?
He feels it well, and he finds good holes. I mean, against Vanderbilt, I think he had 2 really good punt returns. And that's kind of when he's been thrust into that role almost solely now. I mean, Don Blaylock took a little bit last week, but that's when Tyler Simmons came out with an injury. But without Kearis, I think he was supposed to kind of help him hold that down. But, I mean, I don't know. I would say just keep giving it to Tyler Simmons. Don't even let anyone else, rotate in with them there.
Well, Kearis Jackson is definitely the person that you want in open space versus Tyler Simmons. But at the same time, it's hard to argue against results. And the results from him have been very good. No question.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So today, with it being so hot, I mean, you got guys who, like the big guys, do they seem to you, in your mind when you're out there, do they seem to really struggle in the heat, or do they just seem like the big guys always sort of move slower than the fast guys?
It's hard for us to tell in the time we get, but
right.
You do hear Kirby talk about it, especially with some of the younger guys, I think especially, and younger guys from other parts of the country, if we're going to get really specific. I know a couple of years ago, I mean, he talked about how much of a struggle it was for Isaiah Wilson adjusting to this coming from Brooklyn. But I'm sure it does catch up to him a little bit for this freshman especially, just the change in heat and how long you go out there for compared to what they did in the past. I mean, those guys are moving around at 300 to 340 pounds in the just dead heat.
Yeah, dude, isn't it hotter now than it was in August?
Yeah, oh my God, absolutely.
I said something
I don't get it.
Same here. I said something to Fromm after the game, and he was like, no, we had scrimmages that were this hot. And that may be true, but most of the
They did do scrimmages at like noon and like 1.
Most of the practices this August were not nearly as hot as the ones from the past. Or it seemed hotter in years gone by, I guess is maybe the way that I should put it. But it doesn't seem overwhelmingly hot. But boy, here these last few days, it's gotten brutal.
Yeah, it's been bad.
What do you make of... Go ahead.
I was just going to say, you can definitely see the big guys sweating a little more. They look a little glossier.
I did want to ask you real quick here. It's looking like well, of course, don't skip ahead. Kirby said today during the press conference that no one was looking ahead. Essentially, that I don't think those were his exact words, but no one was looking towards Notre Dame. But
I think he almost said that exactly. I think he said no one in this building is focusing on Notre Dame right now.
well, here's the thing, though. Someone just posted this on the site. Um, it looks like the face value for the Tennessee game could be as low as $75 a ticket. How many
in Knoxville?
In Knoxville, yeah. How many Georgia fans do you think would be at that game if it stays in that ballpark? And then number two, I mean, I know it's supply and demand, and I get all that, but how stunning a thing would it be for Georgia fans to pay as much as $200 a ticket in the lowest possible scenario at Vanderbilt and 75 at Tennessee? I know it's almost triple the size, but still.
I mean, it's just kind of sad again for Tennessee that fans wouldn't even want to go out to that game, that they would be willing to sell their tickets that low to watch a game that has traditionally been a very good game. I mean, you just think about all the classics they've had even this decade.
They have certainly. Well, this decade, Tennessee it's just been a rough century for Tennessee. They were on the cusp of a national championship in 2001 before, or at least playing for a national championship before Nick Saban upset them with LSU in the SEC championship game. I mean, that was Nick's second year in the league. A year later, Tennessee was not the same. Really, from the Nick Saban game on in 2001, they just haven't been the same. And they haven't been, and they won the East in 4-7, and I think that's it. So it's been a sputter failure. I mean,
what do you think they're at their low point right now? This century even?
It's pretty bad.
I thought it might have been with Butch Jones. I thought hiring Jerry Pruitt at least would have been, something a little more optimistic after that 4-8, but like the loss to Georgia State, I wonder if that was just the ultimate low point.
Were they 4-8 last year? That shows how bad?
I thought they were 5-7.
I can't even remember. I'm going to look at it right now if I can, but I mean, I could imagine. I mean, there's going to be a ton of Georgia people at the game one way or another. They were 5-7 last year, 4-8 the year before, back-to-back years of 9-4. But in this century, they've had 4 10-win seasons, and only 8 9-win seasons. It's just not been good.
Georgia fans, if they're going to go to that game,
I said 8. It's really 7 actually 9-win seasons. Sorry, go ahead, Dylan.
I was going to say, if Georgia fans, if they get enough people there, they should try and checkerboard it with red and black. That would be funny. Maybe they couldn't get the whole stadium, but if you can even do like a quarter of the stadium, just do like one little checkerboard, that would be awesome.
Johnny Major's time at Tennessee, particularly like from 87 on, Tennessee went from 1987 on, they had 10-win, 5-win, 11, 9, 9, 9, 9, and then Fulmer took over at that last 9, sound like Herman Cain. And then obviously the glory years of Tennessee football from 1995 to 1998, where they won what's looking like almost 45 games in 4 years. That's quite a bit, and that was quick math. That's very impressive. And then the SEC changed before it really changed. I mean, Nick Saban came in, Mark Richt came in, Alabama became not dysfunctional anymore. And when you saw that Georgia and Alabama both became powers in their own right again, and lately with Clemson. I mean, Clemson hasn't been, dribbling it off their foot since the 2013-14 season. So they've had a good 6 years where instead of being second or third place in the Carolinas, Clemson has been first or second Tennessee used to own those areas, used to own Asheville, Charlotte, the Tidelands in Tidewater, whatever it is in Virginia. I mean, that's the areas that they owned, and they had a lot of success in Atlanta. But when you look at it right now, Dylan, I mean, we had this conversation this summer. It can go away, and the question is, it always goes away. Actually, the question is, how long will it take you to get where you got to go? I mean, how long does it take you to get back? And for Tennessee, I mean, it's taking a long time. When you compare that to Georgia, and just real quick for the listeners, they have 12 of their 18 seasons in this century have been 10-win seasons. That's a lot of wins, and
Yeah.
that's with three different coaches. The only 8-win seasons came. 3 of the 8-win seasons, so 3 of the remaining 6, half of the time that they didn't get to 10 wins, coach was either in his last year or his first year. And then obviously Mark Richt with an 8-5 in 2009, a 6-7 in 2010, 8-5 in 2013, and they were 9-4 when they went to a brand new quarterback with Matthew Stafford in 2006. Mark Richt took Georgia from being so-so to being steady in a way that Tennessee just hasn't had lately.
Well, I don't know. For Tennessee to get back to where they were, it's going to be difficult. I mean, Kirby's 43?
Something like that.
And
Yeah.
if Kirby's pulling, your 5-star kids from Knoxville, Tennessee, shit, and he's only 43, you have something to worry about for your future.
But
I don't know.
Someone will come in and change the league again. I don't know who that person is. I'll say this about Kirby, in my view at least. He is the best recruiting person in college football, period. He's better than Nick Saban. He's built a machine right next door to Alabama that's just as good, if not better than Alabama at recruiting. And, that's just what it is. And we're still seeing this thing in its infancy, frankly.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Alabama and Clemson, before they became these recruiting monsters themselves, they had to win a lot. Kirby did it kind of without winning at first. I mean, he brought in a stellar class after going 8-5 that first year, and it was not a pretty 8-5, I don't think.
No, they didn't score.
I mean, yeah, and I mean, they brought in a hell of a class that year. I mean, it was insane. I don't know how he convinced kids of that, but I mean, yeah. Imagine if Georgia does get winning. Imagine the kind of recruiting they can do then. Winning championships.
Well, I mean, they're not exactly losing. It just, I mean, the secret for success is different at different places. You can't do what Clemson's doing at Georgia. It wouldn't work. I don't think. I mean, I think we've seen that, which was the Mark Richt time. If Clemson doing what Alabama and Georgia do, I mean, it would work even better in the ACC, but it wouldn't be what they are. And different places succeed in different ways. If I were Florida State, Tennessee, I would be seriously concerned. I mean, Texas went 10 years without doing anything in the national level. We're looking at Tennessee as coming on. They're coming on 20 years of not playing in a big bowl game. You're talking about 21 years since they won the conference. It's that. I mean, Texas has always had kids. Tennessee doesn't. Florida State's just made a bad hire. They need to move on, and they should have moved on last year. They need to move on as fast as they can. But both those schools are in perilous situations for different reasons, I think. But lack of leadership is a lot of it.
Yeah, and I don't know. I see what you mean in the sense that when you realize you've made a mistake, you got to move on. Yeah. But it's just the money of it. And you want to keep giving him a chance, and specifically Willie Taggart at Florida State.
Why?
I mean, because you want to believe that he can turn things around, because it can be difficult to turn things around within a year or a year and a half, 2 years. Some programs need 3 years fully to get things rolling in the right direction. But I don't know.
But
It does not look like it's going right at all there.
there should be signs pretty quick. I mean,
I agree, and there are.
when you look at just look at the last few Georgia coaches, there's only been 3 since 1996. In Jim Donnan's first year, they upset Auburn on the road. That was a huge win. They had some bad losses, but that was a huge win. In 2001, Mark Richt goes to Knoxville, knocks off Tennessee. Huge win for Kirby. Number 8 Auburn comes to Athens. They beat them 13-6. It was theirs, or 13-7. I can't remember. You should see the signs quickly. It doesn't mean you cement it quickly. It just you should see the signs. And what I would ask you, and we don't have to talk about this much longer, but what is the sign at Florida State that things are going well? What is the sign at Tennessee that things are going well? And please do not say recruiting, because Tennessee is far behind their main 2 rivals, Georgia and Alabama.
Yeah, I don't know. And that hurts them, too, if they got to play Georgia and Alabama yearly.
Well, that wasn't such a problem for them in the 1990s.
No, but right now it's an issue, and so however long those 2 teams are good, Tennessee's
in trouble. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how we've gotten off on a huge Tennessee tangent.
Well, I mean, people, Dylan, they watch, they see, how is BYU winning the week after Georgia State? Does Jeremy Pruitt have control over that situation up there? It looks like, I don't know if this is accurate. I'm just reading on the message board. It looks like USC has fired Lynn Swann. I mean, USC only. I mean, they're 2-0. I don't know. I don't know. It's there are some serious. Well, he resigned. Okay. I don't know why that is, what's going on, there, but these are programs that should be pretty good. These are programs that for about a 7-year period there, from 1998 to 2005, won a slew of national championships and played for a slew of national championships. And right now, they're just total disasters. USC is not so much a flaming garbage dump as the other 2. But they're not what they used to be, that's for sure. And they had a big win over Stanford this past weekend, I'll say that. I watched that game. They beat them pretty solidly, too.
Yeah, I mean, people can't be good forever. They're definitely there's always going to be, spurts of time, decades even, a decade or 2, as in Tennessee's case now, that it's just not going to go right. And you just got to almost wait it out at times and just keep trying to make these hires, but
well, the 1990s were not great for Texas, Oklahoma, and Georgia. And, it's starting to look like the 2010s are not going to be so hot for USC, Tennessee, and Florida State. And Florida State won a national championship this decade. And they're about as far.
The 2010s are all right, but the 2020s,
well, we can't know. I mean, Tennessee for sure and Florida State. I think for Florida State for sure and USC, they will have an easier time turning around than Tennessee. But
because they had the recruiting, I don't know.
Well, for Florida State, it's the path. Their path only involves beating Clemson. Now, that's a lot easier.
And they're in the state of Florida.
Bingo. There's just not that many people in Tennessee, and that means there's not that many prospects. Now, it's a growing state in a way because of Nashville, but, I mean...
But Tennessee's got to lock those kids down first. Cade Mays is...
Yeah, you can't lose that guy. He's been valuable for Georgia, man.
Incredibly. And, I mean, Tennessee would kill to have him right now.
No doubt.
And if they had him, they might have a decent starting offensive line. They'd have maybe even a good one.
One guy doesn't solve your problem ever in any one situation. Although Cade Mays would be a good start, that's for sure. All right, thanks for listening to Thanks for listening to Riding Home here on Dog Post. Go over to the website dogpost.com. We'll see you over there.